In today's episode, I have the privilege of talking with Elder Lauren Adorno-Weatherford. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy. Welcome, everyone. My name is Vicchi Oleski, and you have tuned in to Live Into 5D, Waking Up Your Nature. So hello, and thank you again. We have a very special guest, Lauren Weatherford. Am I pronouncing it?
Weatherford.
Weatherford, I thank you. Admire and thank you so much for joining us today. I met Lauren through Intentional Creativity, Musea, and Lauren, you're an elder of our community.
Mm-hmm.
We were touching into this. When I first met you and Shiloh introduced you as our elder, one of our elders, I just was like, to me, it opened a moment of honoring. I didn't even know you. And now learning and knowing and hanging with you, I'm like, oh my God, I really want to talk about this term. So
I'm happy to say. First of all, thank you for inviting me to be a guest. I've not done this before, so I'm new to the podcast world. Mm-hmm. Anyway, what was the question?
Well, the term elder.
Elder, got it. Okay. Yes.
Yes. It is a pastime term, but it is
old and it is new.
Right?
It's old. It like things cyclically happen. But I came into the elder being the elder when Semarit and I were co-hosting circles within Musea online, Zoom, and we decided at that point that we were going to put the title of elder in front of our names, because of the fact that we were both beyond the 50s, 60s, and felt like, okay, this is important. It's part of our culture and upbringing in the Black African American community. They revere and look up to oftentimes their elders. In the Puerto Rican community, it's similar. They're upheld and respected. And so we felt that we wanted to hold that space for our community as well. And holding the title, like you said, it brings that a different something to it. And it is a title that you earn through having lived your life, having experienced things, and having certain wisdoms that you can pass on or share to the younger people that are coming through and that you're meeting and growing with. So that became an important piece. And I hadn't really understood the power of it until we were into it. And then I felt like, yes, I know what this feels. This is yes, this is right. I kind of grew into that title because I didn't, in the first place, I understood it, what it represented, but I didn't embody it. Now I embody it.
Beautiful.
Also, it's interesting for me who looks a lot younger than I am, and people don't know my age. They're about 20, 25 years off oftentimes in looking at me. And so my appearance doesn't always feel as elder, but I do. And I want to be respected in that way. So yes, I claim that title, elder.
Love this.
I have lived this world. I am knowledgeable. I'm not a young person that is just talking off the top of my head. No, I've embodied a lifetime of experiences. And I want you to know that you're coming to me with that kind of energy. You understand who I am in that way. So the term really is a powerful term, but it does have to be earned through age. Mm-hmm. However, I can't say that young people aren't wise, and they are. I'm not discrediting that. There are many young people that come into the world and they've lived another lifetime and they came into this body this time and they're doing what they did when they were, because they're amazing at what they're doing. Right. It comes from something else. That's an old wisdom, an old soul, an old spirit that's coming through that person. And I respect that too. There's a lot, but when you're living in this world and this bodies that we have, you earn that title as you age, per se. So
I love how you're, yeah, thank you, because I love how you're describing that, how you're also like, I'm feeling your embodiment of that. And I'm also having a direct understanding of why we introduce people in community in a certain way. We want to identify who they are.
Yes.
And there's also been a way that you just are describing it, is that there's like a self-respect. You're also revering your own experiences that way.
Correct.
Wow, so powerful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I hope more people who have earned the title should begin to use them, because it is important for the young people to know who you are and the stance you take.
Well, here's the thing, like you and I are in a class together called Animistica.
Correct.
And part of the big picture of what we're doing is revealing our healer archetype.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this, and part of our conversation in this course is talking about us coming into our healer.
Yes.
And also in the last year, I came into my artist self. And it is such a powerful thing to identify where we're at in our lives and what we're up to. I think it's like almost a
initiation,
like an initiation, you know, and you really like take something on.
Yes.
That's how I'm hearing how you're talking about elder, and that's how I felt about really identifying as a healer.
Yes.
And then, you know, the artist thing came and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
But it is, I just really want to bring that point and ground that point home for people.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because people often wonder, you know, about that. So I'm glad you asked.
Well, that too. And also you're a shaman.
Yes.
Do you identify as an artist healer?
Yes, I do.
Oh.
Yes, I do. And that was through the intentional creativity. It came to me in 2013, the artist element as far as painter was concerned. I had done shaman training years before I became what I consider an artist as far as painter artist. But I've always considered myself a sacred artist. Sacred arts are the shamanism, the animism, earth-based things that, and also spirit-based things that I've had for years practice. The thread is, I'm losing the thread again.
You want to talk a little bit about your painting right behind you?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's bring that in, because there's such a presence with them.
The painting I brought is called Kemet Queen, and Kemet is the original name for Africa. And so I painted her in 2020, right as the COVIDian era was beginning, and Mr. George Floyd was murdered, and there was a lot of energy and change in the air around identity of Blackness. And for me, I'm Puerto Rican, so I was born in California, born and raised in California, 2 Puerto Rican parents. So I identified very strongly with my cultural upbringing, because of the food and the music and the family and all of that. So I held on to that as an identity from very young, very, very young, and growing into my adulthood and elderhood. It wasn't until 2020 when I started really looking at the identity of myself through the African lens, the African diaspora. And this is the migration from Africa through the slave trade that occurred, stealing people from one country, putting them on boats, and then taking them to other countries, and then enslaving them for years and years and years and generations and generations and generations. So I wanted to look at my identity in relation to, well, what is that for me? And that was the light bulb of time, a window of an opportunity that I felt like I woke up to wanting to know about that. And so I began to paint in a new way that I hadn't before, with the lens of the African diaspora and the African energy that I hold. And I started painting that. And this was the woman that came through. She's very strong. She's like holding this shield, a strong shield, and she's very, very proud and like holding her identity very strongly into who she is. Yeah, so that was what came through during that time. And these are all aspects of self that come through when you're working in intentional creativity and you're given a prompt or an idea, and you go inward, and then you bring out something that you don't expect. Because when I start, it's completely organic. Of course, we start with color and underpainting, and then symbols start to come up, and we put the symbols on, and then a being begins to present itself to us, and then we create that being. It's a fascinating process, and it's not something, and I've been doing it since 2013, so 11 years actually painting, and each of my paintings still surprises me at the very end, because I don't have an idea from the beginning of what I'm doing. It's all organic, it's all authentic, it all comes right from what's happening in my world, what's happening right now, and I put it on the canvas. So that was in 2020. And the one that I'm currently doing right now in the course that we're in, I have a being that is part octopus. She's an under creature. She's got a full moon, because I was recently in a full moon setting, in the underwater setting, and I was swimming with turtle. And I was focusing on turtle and the energy of turtle and what it was doing. And I literally just floated like turtle was floating. I saw how turtle would come up one time, come up two times, come up three times for air, and then go down. And it did this as a pattern regularly. Come up one time, come up two times, come up three times for air and go down. So I was with it for a while, just feeling what that felt like in my snorkel mask, and floating along the top of the water as I'm looking down at turtle, learning about the movements and the flow and the beauty that they have when they're eating, and how their body sometimes moves with the current of the ocean, and they just allow, and it just keeps, and then it settles, and then they move. But they really go with a current flow from the waters that carry them, and then they move, not as against it, but with it. And it's just such a beautiful process. So I was learning a lot about turtle, and so turtle has come up in the painting as one of my allies right now, that I'm obviously worked with and felt very connected to, because I had the intention of being with turtle, and turtle being with me, because turtle could see me, right? I mean, it knew I was there. And at times when the water took me too close, I was like backing away, because I wanted to give turtle space. I didn't want to be in I knew it needed to do what it needed to do. So I had to keep like, okay, let's back up. But it was a beautiful dance between turtle and I. It was absolutely exquisite. So I came home and I feel like I needed to embody that. And by embodying that, I bring it through color and art and paint and drawing and that sort of thing. So
Are you inclined to go over and get your painting and show us? Because
would you like to see it?
I think the listeners, watchers, I know I would like to. You did show me on your phone, but
yes.
If it's so close, yeah, give us
I'll go get her. She's just right.
Because, yeah.
Let me take a moment.
Aw. Thank you. Yes.
Can you see it?
Yeah, we can. There you go.
This is the octopus type being behind, and then the woman who came through, she's wearing pearl earrings. And then Turtle just showed up yesterday, so I did an outline of it, and it's going to stay as it is with the background melding.
Yeah, we were talking.
And then this right here is the sign of Omega. And that's an interesting story. The full moon and Omega. While I was in Maui's, where I was swimming with Turtle, it was a full moon, and I wanted to make sure that I saw it during the time that I was there, but not sure which way to look and all of that. But I knew, it was going to rise. So most of my family left sooner than me, and I was the only one on the beach waiting for the moon to rise. And it did, above some trees. But before it had risen, I was looking for it, and I couldn't see it from where it was. And I think it started over the mountain on the other side of the island, Haleakala, that side where it rises from there. And so where I was, it hadn't risen yet. So I'm walking, going to the sand, following the path, going to the sand to the beach. And as I'm going through, there's this person that kind of was in the bushes, and he comes out of the bushes, and I was a little startled, and I think he could tell. And then he says, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, I'm okay. Are you okay?" And he said, "Yes." And I could tell he was a homeless person that had been living there. And my senses were up to know if this is a safe being or not, because I'm alone. And I checked in and knew it wasn't somebody crazy or on drugs, or they were pretty much in their body, but they were homeless and living on the beach, waiting here to see the moon as it rises. Oh, okay. And then I sat down, and he sat down, and he had a little flask with probably moonshine in it. Who knows?
Moonshine, early.
And held on to it. Didn't drink it while I was there, but held on to it. And then I began to talk to him and find out who he was. And he said his name was Omega. And he is the black sheep of the family. And he lives in the ocean and for the ocean and by the water. And that's all he wants to do. And I was just listening to him and his world. And he had a lot of pain. And he said he was getting away from some girls that were over there, probably some other people that he didn't want to be around. And he said he needed to get some space. So he went into the bushes. And that's when I came upon him, when he was in the bushes. And so he said, "Oh, okay." And then the moon started coming out, and it was bright and it was shining. And I was so excited. There it is, there's the moon. And I was just like, my whole body was trembling. And he looks at it and he says, "Ugly moon." And right after that, I said, "Ugly moon." And he laughed and laughed and laughed, because he did not expect me to howl
Right.
at the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. So that was my Omega. And I brought the symbol of his name in there, which means the end. Beginning and the end. I don't know much more about that, but I put it in there because Omega and I had an exchange on the night of the full moon, and it was a beautiful moment.
Oh my goodness.
So That's the
Wow,
story.
Lauren, thank you so much for telling us this story. Oh,
You're right.
wow.
Just living
And
life,
yeah,
you know?
and that in and of itself is like an intentional creativity story to the T,
Yeah.
right? Like that is the practice of intentional creativity.
Yes, being present to the moments, being really, really, really present and with whoever's you're with, being there.
Having that witness moment,
Yes.
zero of projection, judgment,
Right.
so that it can just be what it needs to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I guess you're right, because I could have run away scared because I was a little startled and I was alone. But, I'm wiser and I check in. And is this dangerous for me? Should I flee? If so, I would have. But it didn't feel that way. It felt like, no, I want to spend time with this human, who's here. And
Right.
I'm here and I'm waiting for the moon. So I'm not going anywhere till the moon comes out.
I'll have to also say for them to how, and then you reflect back the same how. I mean, like that's just like we're here together,
That's exactly why I did it. Because
Yeah.
I felt like I wanted to just howl at the moon like he was howling and saying what he said, because that's how he saw it. Okay. But it was a beautiful moment because we did laugh. We did both laugh a lot after that because
I was like, okay. Yeah.
And then the next morning I went out to the water to see the moon set.
Mhm.
And I said, thank you, beautiful moon. Thank you for showing me Omega and some of the ugliness that exists.
Yeah. Because it's all here.
Yeah.
And to care for ourselves, like Kemet, with the
Staff. Yeah.
staff there, it's another symbol. And also, like what you were talking about earlier when we first got on, is like owning, embodying elderhood, the word elder, and having it be kind of a staff of yours. Like, this is who I am. This is who I'm being. Before we close, what I would like is if you could just give us a simple practice that you give yourself, that you do yourself when you're, well, actually you described it when you met Omega. But if, just for the watchers and listeners, if you pass on a little bit of wisdom.
It's interesting. There's so many different things. I think that's a whole thing in and of itself. But what came to mind was just recently, in the bathtub, being in the bathtub, and what brings me into my body and in resonance with my light and taps into divinity of creator and all that is a bath ritual of just using the vowel sounds in your name. So for instance, I would be A-U-E for Lauren, A-U-E, then my middle name, A-I-A, and then my last name's A-O, and then the Weatherford, E-A-E-O. While you're in the bathtub and you're resonating with your own rhythms of the name, and you do that like 3 times, and it brings you into this place of reverence, of connection. It's really strong. So that would be something I would say that you can try for yourself. And usually I have my ears underneath the water, so that I'm also feeling the energy and the wave motion of the energy with the water, because water is conductive, and so it's very, very powerful in that way when you bring your resonance to it. So
beautiful, and it amplifies that.
thing. I did it this morning.
Thank you for taking care of yourself, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Lauren, so much. What a powerful time here with you. Thank you for showing us your paintings, your both paintings, and telling us the story of Omega. Thank you.
Yes. That was unexpected story, but once I had the painting up and I saw the symbol, it just took me right back to that moment, and the full moon. So it was a nice story.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. This has been a joy, and I really appreciate your invitation.
I'll have Lauren's info in the description box below. You can reach out to her.
So much. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. Always. Take care.